All right. I get the honor and the privilege of actually beginning. I was going to be at the end. And I remember this book I read. Is it Simon Sinek? Always lead with why. And the reason we're here today is about a year ago, Claudia and I were sitting back, and we've been in this drive and this crunch to build out volume, build out volume, build out volume. But there was one thing that we were always going to do, and we were never going to lose sight of the vision, and we were never going to lose sight of the quality. And a lot of people challenged us, and they said, when you have 42 students or 36, that's easy, but you're going to hit 120. And I'm telling you, this team, we were driving. And I really want to thank all of our clinical partners in this: Valleywise, East Valley, St. Joe's. We drove and we drove and we drove, and we literally hit it on the wire getting third year up and running with family medicine. And I just can't tell everyone how happy I was with what we did with third year. And I know a lot of you are connected with third year. And then the day after we got everybody placed, including the PAs, we said we're going to lean into fourth year. And we had a little mantra, remember? Let's take back the fourth year. And what's really important, and the why, is we're not trying to make the world's greatest medical students. We're not trying to make the world's greatest fourth year medical students. We're trying to transition students to become the physicians that they want to become. And I'm always reminded that everybody who's accepted to this medical school, when they were in college, had a vision of what kind of doctor they're going to become. And it's our job to get them there. And so we want them to become the physicians they're capable of becoming based on their own idealized standards of what they're able to do. And then I think what happens in medical school is it's hard. You're back in the classroom. Third year is a tremendous transition. And then what I think happens, and I've observed this, is fourth year becomes a little bit of a really tough time for students. If you look at the data, if you look at depression, if you look at suicidal ideation, it peaks in fourth year. And I know Joanna knows this, like 10.41% of students in fourth year have actually considered suicide. That means that there's 12. And so the question is, why? Why? And I think it's because the fourth year is really tough in a way that the other years aren't. And this is why we want to take back the fourth year. We want to take back the fourth year. What happens in fourth year? I got to get my CV in. I got to get my letters of recommendation in. I got to do my sub-Is. I got to get my aways. Now I have to do interviews, right? And then the big wait to get that envelope or get that email. Did I match? And my question is, have we lost some of the formation of our students? I think third year is the transitional year, but I think the formation of the student really happens in the fourth year. And I think they can get lost. I think students can get lost in their fourth year. And so right now we're engaging the engaged, all of you. You're the most engaged of our leaders. But we want to go back out there and we want to remind students that they're still growing and they're still developing. And I remember my favorite fourth year rotation was inpatient child psychiatry as a surgeon. And so I think we can do a lot for our fourth year students. And what can we do for our fourth year students? One, I'm so proud of the program we worked so hard to create, the specialty directors, guiding students through the fourth year. Number two, something we're working on right now. How do we identify a student in the fourth year who's not forming? The third thing, we know that there's learning loss in high school. We know that we can see it, and we can see it in the national testing scores. We know there's learning loss in college. Are we transferring that learning loss into internship? Are students entering the practice of medicine ready to practice medicine? And one of the things I really think about is, when do you want your pilot to learn how to fly a plane? Before they get their pilot's license or after? And so that's what this is about today. The big picture is, how can we take back the fourth year? Guess what, guys? We started the day after we finished third year. We have enough rotations. We have enough rotations. We are not about quantity anymore. It's all about quantity. So, it's all about quality. We don't have to worry about quantity. So I'm asking each and every one of you to listen to all the things we want to tell you. We want to teach you about the nuts and bolts of the medical school. We want to teach you about the nuts and bolts of the fourth year. And then I want you to go out and talk to the other fourth year rotation directors, the ones that may not be as connected to the medical school as you are. And let's go out there and let's take back the fourth year, and let's make the fourth year about the formation of the physician once they've identified the specialty and they've made their life choice. And so with that, I'm going to hand it off, I think, to Dr. Richardson. And thank you very much for your time.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Well, I have the privilege of pointing out some people who've been here a long time. Maybe I'll just share a quick thought. One of my favorite scenes in the Bible, as when Jesus is walking along the seashore and he sees Andrew and Peter, and he tells them, "Follow me." And they straightway left their nets and followed him. The element of sacrifice in that moment is, I think, apparent to all of us, that we leave our livelihood, the way we make money, to go and live the mission that we feel is important. And I kind of see all of you that way. You're leaving something that could make you money to do something for students. And we know we try and reimburse you a little bit, and we know it's not enough, but thank you for your sacrifice. We appreciate all you do. So we have a list here of people who've been faculty for 10 years or more. And I think I'm first on the list. but we have several. Father Kevin Dilworth, Marina Michescu, Alice, it says Morella. Ah, okay. Yeah. Alice Wright, Sina Nafisi, Jason Kaplan, Chris Ramsuk, Christina Kwasnika, who's here. Yes. Fran Hahn, Talina Hugh, Travis Holcomb, Ali Borhan, Thomas Gillespie, and Jasmine Wong. I thought the list would be longer, actually, but yeah. Well, let me say this too. I think maybe the core of who we are as a School of Medicine here is represented by our clerkship directors, but the richness of who we are here is represented by our electives and our elective directors. So we thank you for the work that you go to create the richness of who we are as a School of Medicine. So thank you.
For most of you, I know you, but not everyone. And just know that this is also being recorded for those who couldn't attend. So some of this that I'm going to go over is really just kind of helping people to understand the operational side of things and what you do. It plays into everything that happens at the medical school. This summer we had a retreat. It was a phase retreat of all of the leadership in the medical school. And the intent of that retreat really was to kind of regroup. We've had a lot of growth in a short period of time. We've expanded to a full 4-year class. We have 2 campuses. We have hundreds, actually 1,500 or some faculty. So there are a lot of moving parts to this. One of the most common questions that we got was, what's the organizational structure? Most people don't even know who's in what role. To be honest with you, I kind of joke that my job is the conductor. I kind of help the symphony play, but there are multiple master violinists and the like in this process. Each of you is that, your master educator in your space, and I'm just helping to get you the resources and the things you need to be effective. But the reality behind all of this, it's a entire community of people that make this happen. We have Dr. Jackson here who does some of our she's our preclinical leadership, and honestly, it's an extraordinary the number of people that are involved in the educational experience for our students. It is important for you to understand as part of what you do in all of your roles that we are governed by a set of rules, I would like to call it, or rubric that we use, which is the educational program objective. When we met this summer, we actually looked at that to refine the educational program objectives. And this is it. Most of you have seen this if you've had syllabi. And that educational program objective really just says, what is it that who is it we're trying to graduate? As Tom talked about, landing the plane, or excuse me, being able to take off and fly the plane. These are the things that we feel are necessary. Very similar for most medical schools. We spent some time looking at and refining our EPOs. Those EPOs really stand for the kinds of skills that we think are necessary to be successful. And some of the areas of refining that we did is, one of the changes that we made is we think that innovation should be part of that goal, that we should be teaching our students to understand how innovation plays into what they do every day. And then transitions of care, that's unique and different. We really think that that's where a lot of good quality care gets lost. I see John Anwar here, and I know that he knows how to do it. No one knows how to do it better than him. And in these spaces that we work in, these are the things that we found very important. And then we called out something else. What's unique about Creighton is that we're actually developing students and future doctors who are going to be compassionate caregivers. And so that's also one of the things that we refined in our objectives. Knowing that those objectives then they roll into, or they feed into and inform our syllabi. So many of you have either worked on or built syllabi for your courses. Just know that there's a interplay of all of that information. That's what helps us to decide whether or not our students are competent. And that's really all I needed to tell you, because that actually is an LCMU requirement that you've all seen it. So, but more importantly, I'll send those out in case you haven't seen the details of it or the refined details. The only other thing I wanted to chat about is, for those of you who are in these spaces, especially our fourth year specialty directors, it is important that if you see you have line of sight in your different institutions of the different fourth year electives that are out there, but if somebody leaves the institution, or somebody takes on a different role or responsibilities, or if there's a course that maybe isn't functionally working as well as it should, those are all things that we need to hear from you all as the team, because again, students are signing up for these courses, and the last thing we want to find out is at the last minute that, you know, this fourth year elective that they were banking on doesn't exist anymore. Somebody's left the institution, and we don't know. There's no feedback loop. So that, I think, was it for me. Thank you. No clapping, please. This is a small group.
Thank you, Dr. Chambers. Dr. Jones.
Thank you. Let me come up front here. So when you looked at the org chart, you may have noticed that I'm not on that. And that's okay. I just came for the food and they asked me to talk. So I hope that's all right. So I know most of you, but there's a few that I don't know. So I'm Doug Jones. I'm the Associate Dean for Student Affairs. And so one of the blessings, I think, of working here is that the Office of Medical Education and the Office of Student Affairs work so closely together. And what I want to talk to you about a little bit tonight is the clinical learning environment. Now, the clinical learning environment really includes everything that we do. It's the hospitals, it's the health systems, it's you as teachers, everything that surrounds our students is part of the clinical learning environment. And I want you, as we talk about this, we're going to talk about running a river. And imagine that the curriculum, which is put together by our medical education people, is the boat. And in student affairs, our job is to get the boat to the end of the river safely. And hopefully all the students are able to get to the end and match into their specialty. So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, I want to show you this slide because this is a dream of mine. I've never actually done this, to run through the Grand Canyon. I've been on the Colorado River and on some of its tributaries before. But when you look at this water, it's really smooth. There's not a whole lot happening there. It's really pretty, but it's smooth. So this is an easy day in the curriculum. But people go to run the Colorado for this, believe it or not. This is the rapids, they're world-class rapids. And you can tell from that that you've got to be careful and know what you're doing to get through there safely. There are going to be bad days in the curriculum and in the clinical learning environment for us as teachers and for students as well. And what they need is this. They need experienced river guides. They're going to help them through. I wanted to give you this little presentation because this we talked about with the deans and the chairs in Omaha at our retreat, and I want you to know what they're getting. And I know totally that I'm preaching to the choir about building a good clinical learning environment, but we need you to be ambassadors of this and examples of this, of how to be good professionals and to teach everybody else how to help those students to get safely through to the end. Once in a while, we come up against this. You know, there's the curriculum that's written and there's syllabi for that, but there's also the hidden curriculum. And that's us, and that's how we behave and how we act, because our students are going to learn to be professionals by watching what we do. Now, I can look throughout this room and tell you we are in excellent hands. This is an amazing group of people, and I hope you recognize that. I hope you give yourself a little pat on the back and know that, because it's really true. This is what our students see most of the time in the clinical learning environment. It's a great place for them to learn. But once in a while, there are bad days and they might see this as well. And so as you're working with the faculty, just remind them that we are the role models and that the hidden curriculum is really us. And I think it's important to know that. So sometimes, though, they're going to be in the rapids. And you notice in this picture, unlike the first one I showed you, look how dirty the water is. This is complicated. Medical education is complicated. It's messy. It's hard. You can imagine that these people in this raft right now, they're not saying, I am so glad that I'm here. They're saying, wow, it's cold and I'm wet and I want to get through this. The way we get through it is by being professionals. And there are lots of definitions of professionalism, but this is a simple one that I like. It's the attributes, the skills, and the behaviors that determine how we as physicians behave, especially when circumstances are most challenging. So for our students, when things are hard, this is one of the options. We could bubble wrap them and keep them safe from all that, and they would get through safely, but they wouldn't really become physicians, would they? So it's important that we talk about professionalism in a safe space. So for us as educators, making sure that we are professional in what we're doing, we're teaching them those professional attributes, we're helping them to grow, but we're not insulating them from all of the hard things. And in that, I'm not talking about the hard things, physician behavior. It's mostly the curriculum, and the job itself, you know, is not easy. If they're not exposed to hard, they won't be able to do it on their own. So we give them tools. And this is one of the things that we're really concerned about in student affairs, to make sure that they have the safety equipment to be able to get through safely and learn and grow as a physician. Along with that then, and this is the real meat of what we're going to talk about, and the important thing, is there are processes and policies that I want to talk to you about. The first process has to do with feedback. And if you could just do me one favor, it's to give students feedback often. It makes such a difference. I've always talked to our faculty in family medicine and said that my job as an educator is not done until I've given feedback. I can prepare, I can teach, but I'm not done until I let them know how they've done and performed on the competencies that we're working on. Unfortunately, sometimes this is what we get. And we certainly see evaluations that are some form of work harder, read more. This is something I think we can all work on, is making sure that we give feedback early and often. When you find that there's a concern with a student, if you feel like they need some help with professionalism, and I'll tell you, we track this, and 80% of the professionalism concerns we have to do with things like attendance. It's the mandatory activities, the administrative things that they're not doing, attendance, getting their immunizations updated. I can't tell you how much time Xavier spends on things like making sure they have dotted all the I's and crossed the T's of just the administrative tasks. So administrative things, communication, and then once in a while there are personality things or other things that we just need to help them to learn. So I hope you're all familiar with this process of an early concern. We can send this out. You can either use that QR code or the website, and there's a Qualtrics form that you fill out describing what happened with a student. Hopefully you've already met with them and given them feedback. If it's the first time they've heard about it, I'm okay playing that role of the bad cop and telling them, hey, there's an early concern, we need to talk. but it's a lot more effective if you talk to them first and let them know what they need to know. I will talk to them and reinforce them, and then take it from them to help them, take it from there to help them to learn the behaviors that they need to learn. Oh, what happened there? I probably broke something. I broke the internet. I'm sorry. I think that meant I'm done. Is that what it means? I am almost done, actually. Yeah. Slideshow? Or there too?
This one?
While we're figuring it out, so we're not delayed, I'll tell you what's on the next slide. Okay. The early concerns have been for professionalism, but this is a concept that we're just developing. So I can tell you it's not quite ready for prime time, but we still want you to know about it, and we still want to hear about it if it happens. We see sometimes that students get into their third year, and yes, all the way to their fourth year, and they are just not quite ready for residency. And when that happens, if you see that, please let us know. And we're working on a formal process, but for right now, it'll probably go through student affairs, working with MedEd. So myself or Dr. Gillespie, if you want to let us, one of us know if there's a student that's just not there yet and is going to need some extra mentoring and help clinically, then we'll see what we can do to give them that help. This policy is really important. This is the policy for ensuring a positive learning environment. That's the same as student mistreatment. And I'll let you read the policy, but this is the important part from it. Any behaviors, actions, or expressions by faculty or staff towards a learner that a reasonable person would consider mistreatment or demeaning or an abusive power are unacceptable. So we don't see this a lot, but sometimes we do. Sometimes as faculty, people get busy. And I know all the reasons. They're stressed, they're tired and everything, and they may lash out a little bit at a student or say something that they didn't really mean. There's a fine line there. It is actually okay and acceptable for students to get feedback, even somewhat publicly. Like when you're on rounds, if a student's not prepared, we understand that you've got to let them know. They're part of a team. And so that's not necessarily mistreatment. Now, there are right ways and there are wrong ways to give them that feedback, even if it's in front of their peers. But if it's bad feedback for the sake of embarrassing them, if it's excessive, then that's mistreatment. That's what we should not be doing. And so if you see those kinds of things, let us know. The students know that also and have the ability to report that. Hopefully that's not something that we see, but rarely, if ever. But again, they're learning to be a professional from watching us. And then the last thing is this, it's the Title IX. So sometimes that mistreatment has to do with actually the formal definitions of discrimination. And you can see there, they're highlighted in blue. There are lots of groups that you would say if people are disadvantaged because of those things, of their race, color, religion, etc., then that there's a federal statute there that comes into play, and that's Title IX. I don't do that in student affairs. That's James Nita, who's our Title IX officer. He's an attorney, and he's awesome to work with. You're welcome to let me know, and I can get you in touch with him, or you can let him know directly. That's the email to reach him. If those things happen, though, then he actually takes that, and I will help in that process. But he takes over because that becomes there's a federal law regarding that. It can be even more serious. So that's what I was hoping to let you know about. So professionalism, student mistreatment, Title IX, and mostly just keep doing the awesome job you're doing. It's really a privilege to work with you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I'm the Director of the Office of Medical Education. This is Amber. She is our Clinical Component Supervisor. Reagan is our Student Affairs Coordinator Extraordinaire. She's an expert in scheduling and the M4 world. And then we have Xavier, who's the Director of Student Affairs. So what we thought, we didn't know how many people would show up, so we just wanted to have a conversation with y'all. We handle all of the operations. So from the time a student decides what they want to go into, and they figure out what they want their M4 year to look like. It starts from student affairs and goes all the way through me. So we're just going to start with Xavier, and it might be odd to do a PowerPoint from here, but we'll figure it out. So just wanted to introduce everyone, and here you go, sir. Oh, yes, sorry. According to your agenda, Amber's going first. So to be honest with you, the last time I was in front of a group of physicians, I got caught up in my pants and I fell. So if I end the night standing, it's a win. So here you go. Oh, yes.
Hi. So I am going to talk to you guys about timely submission of your evaluations grades. So per Creighton's policy, our policy is 21 days after the course, after the rotation is completed. Although we have 42 days according to the LCME, Creighton's policy is 21 days. Unfortunately, our biggest barrier happens to be late evaluations from faculty. So I wanted to suggest a couple of things is maybe as an M4 course director, this is specifically for course directors, maybe you guys can set a 7 to 10 day reminder before your 21-day mark and reach out to your preceptors that worked with students and try to get that feedback in a timely manner, or maybe escalate any feedback at a 10-day mark. If the grade does come in late, we are going to need a brief note from you guys if it passes that 42-day mark, which we will not let it get there, but just in case. M4 courses are a little different than M3 courses. There are no preceptor evaluations gathered by the school. If you guys don't work as an M4 course director, if you don't work with the student on rotation, it is the M4 course director's responsibility to survey your team, gather feedback, and submit the evaluation. I'm here to help with any of that if you need help. The M4 year, I said that. My office is here to help you guys with keeping your syllabus updated, mapping EPOs, setting up OASIS evaluations or training if you guys need it, coaching on evaluation workflow when needed. Onboarding, you guys should absolutely have received the 21-day guideline policy. I will send all of these things after today's meeting or tomorrow. Faculty handbook, attendance absence policy, mistreatment policy, and how to complete an M4 evaluation in OASIS if you do not happen to know how to. So that's all.
Sending me the eval for the first part, the first couple weeks they did, and I don't want to complete it until they come back.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am. That is correct. Unfortunately, OASIS is set up to where that split, it's an auto match. So I normally don't catch it until somebody goes, wait, this student hasn't finished the rotation. We will try to get better at that. But OASIS does split the rotation and OASIS expects an evaluation for both, but we do not. So yes, you're correct. If they split it, it's still at the end of, it's 21 days after the end of the rotation is split. Exactly.
If you had a person assigned to you, you get the form to fill out, and then you give it back to me, and I collate it. So I've got forms sitting on my desk for a student coming back in a couple of weeks, and if I needed to fill it out twice, I would do that, but it doesn't make a lot of sense.
I completely agree. What I suggest is if it is a split rotation, your first evaluation, decline it.
And OASIS sends a notification every Tuesday. We can't control that. It hits the server. It goes every Tuesday. But whenever you receive an email from Amber, that means that you're late. So, yeah.
Yeah, the escalation path is you get a nasty gram from me, and then Dr. Gillespie, and then Dr. Chambers. Nobody has ever gotten a Chambers nasty gram. So we try not to, Dr. Gillespie and I try not to let it get there.
What happened in the past for probably 10 years, Amber, it was not sustainable. She would text and say, hey, we need the comments. Did they pass, fail, whatever. So they're not necessary. They're just reminders. And, but whenever you do hear from Amber, that's when you know that it's been 3 weeks. Then after that, the fifth week, it goes to Dr. Gillespie. And then if it's not done by that Monday, then it goes to Dr. Chambers. Then it goes to Dr. Richardson, and then we talk about faculty appointments. So it's that kind of stuff, because we could get in a lot of trouble for not having a completed evaluation in time.
And to be quite honest, 3 weeks is more than enough time to get an evaluation done, in my humble opinion. And it kind of seems like if you don't get it done within that week window, they're like, what student is that? I've had 7 since then. So it's better for you. It's better for me. It's better for the student.
Although we absolutely respect that you're all
Of course.
practicing physicians.
Yes. That's correct. We have told the students that the course director is solely responsible for the evaluation, and that if they would like to reach out to the course director and say, hi, I didn't get a chance to work with you, but I worked with A, B, and C, that would help you as well. But that has just been a nice little suggestion. I do suggest that you guys, M4 course directors, tell your students that at the beginning of their rotation as well.
Because they're coming off of a clerkship. And the clerkship, we do control all of that. And they can get evaluations from several different doctors. But the course director for the 4th year is the only person that gets productivity credit, and the person that has to fill out the evaluation. So that's the reason we'll always point to the course director, no matter who they actually worked with. The only person that gets compensated is the course director, and the only person that can do the evaluation is the course director.
I don't know about compensation. I'll let her speak to that. But even if there are 2 course directors on the syllabi, that lead course director on the syllabus will be the one that gets the sole evaluation. Any other questions?
By the way, I like it when you guys start sending the link that will take us better.
That's nice.
You know?
When the evaluation is matched, when you get an email, it should be a live link that you click. You don't have to log into Oasis. It takes you right to the evaluation. That comes directly from Oasis. That does not come from.
But if you want to give us credit, we'll take it.
Yeah.
All right, so I have been asked to go over just some of the M4 course topics. So I'll just quickly go over the M4 course catalog, annual course syllabi review, the M4 lottery, add drop process, and the 60-day guideline, which is new this academic year, and then any course director changes or course closures. So for the 26-27 M4 course catalog, and this is something that we just finalized, we're going to have a total of 33 sub-internships. Some examples of those are the internal medicine sub-internship. We have one at Valleywise, and then also one at St. Joe's, the inpatient family medicine, and I won't continue to read those, but those are just some examples of courses that satisfy the sub-internship requirement for our students. Another requirement is the critical care selective. And some of those examples are, critical care medicine, anesthesiology, emergency medicine, and so on. We have 29 of those courses. We also have sub-titled courses that satisfy the critical care requirement. So just know that we have that as well. The remainder of our courses are made up of clinical electives and non-clinical electives, and there's some examples there. But in total, Amber and Dr. Gillespie and Dr. Chambers and Reagan, they've all done a fantastic job of growing the catalog. I think we're at a total of 129, 130 courses for the 26-27 academic year. So kudos to them for that. So moving on to the annual course syllabi. This is a review process that we do annually to just make sure that the syllabi is in order for the lottery and also for the academic year. So the timeline for that, Reagan usually starts that in October, and that process runs through November. Is that end of November? So that way we can get it, all the changes and all the updates to the review committee, and we can get those syllabi finalized. That review process usually takes 1.5 months. Does that sound about right? Okay. She does send reminders. So if you get, when you get the initial reminder or the initial email, if you don't respond to that within, a week or two, she will send another reminder. Our goal is to always get 100% participation in this to make sure that we get those updated. So without a response from you guys, even if it is a simple response of no changes for next academic year, keep it as is. That's good for us, I think. So just try to respond to that email that you get annually. The process for returning any updates, it's just a matter of updating the syllabus that she sends you, and then just letting her know, these are the changes I need. Reagan will move through the process and get those updates submitted. And then just finalizing them, like I mentioned, for the M4 lottery and the next academic year catalog. So that's just part of that whole process. M4 lottery, this is something that we have coming up here in January. The timeline for that, we start preparation for it in December, and the lottery actually starts at the end of January, runs through runs through February. And that is, it's pretty much a lottery for our third-year students to get the framework, I guess, for their M4 schedule. And then it's followed by an initial add drop week. So students are allowed to add drop throughout the academic year, but the initial add drop week is an opportunity for them to pick up courses in Omaha, for the Omaha students to pick up courses down here in Phoenix. And it kind of puts their initial final schedule, I guess, in place, even though we know it can change. There is also a process for confirming the initial placement that Reagan, do you want to talk about that a little bit? Just how that works?
Yeah, for the Valley approval. So the students will be able to pick them up in the lottery. And then I will be reaching out and placing all of those requests through Clinician Nexus so that the site can then approve or deny those placements. And then I will work with the student. So if they're denied, I will find them another course to replace it. And if they're placed, then they are placed.
And then she does do a roster send out. So once that initial add drop week is over, once all the placements have been approved, she'll send the initial roster out. And that kind of gives each course director an idea of how many students they have initially. And then, she'll send updates kind of throughout the academic year as students add drop, which we'll talk about here. So that process goes through our scheduling system. And then it also goes through Clinician Nexus for rotations over at Valleywise. Students will submit those requests. Some courses they can automatically add and drop on their own if they're not set up as pre-approval. And when does it occur? Like I mentioned, it can occur at any time throughout the year. Reagan will send you an updated course roster. Is that for everyone, Reagan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for everyone. Okay.
Yes.
And something new this year that Dr. Chambers was a big supporter of is the 68-day guideline. And this was to meet the ask coming from course directors at Valleywise. We want to make sure that the sites are being given enough time to fill some of those open spots. And we want to give our students opportunities as well. If a student were to drop a course, we want to make sure that there's enough time for those spots to be filled. So 30-day just felt like it wasn't enough. We did hear some complaints from course directors feeling like they couldn't fill those spots with other students that wanted to audition. And it's a valid point. So we moved to the 60-day guideline, and there hasn't been any issues so far. So the exceptions would be for externship scheduling. We understand that students are offered externship rotations, last minute. And so we will make exceptions for those kind of things. Oops. And then requests for overrides. So every course has a cap on how many students it will hold a month. And the only time that we will allow a student to do an override is if Reagan is able to get permission from the course director. We just, if a course holds 2 students per month, we'll never put 3 students in there unless the course director approves it. So just be aware of And the last thing is just course director change and course closure. I think Dr. Chambers talked about this a little bit earlier, but if there's ever a time where you're going to be leaving, or you're no longer going to be the course director, we just need to be made aware of that. And that can be Amber, Kathy, me, Reagan. There's just a process for that to try to get that position filled by someone else, or we need to close the course. We might need to move students out of it. And how far in advance? Notice, just as soon as even if I'm going to be retiring in 6 months, let us know so we can prepare for that. And then if you don't notify us, no one gets in trouble, of course, but it does put our students sometimes in a bad situation where we have to move them. Puts Reagan in a bad situation where she's having to find last minute rotations for them. So we just ask that you let us know as soon as possible. That's all I have to do.
One thing that's really important on the override is there's always a wait list. So if the student comes up and says, hey, you really did too, I'm taking. If they're not first on the wait list, you can't override it. So if you increase the number you're taking from 1 month to the next.
I have follow-up. Do you have a survey the students why they drop the change?
No, I think a lot of it, sometimes has to do with, another course opening up that maybe they were on the wait list for. Some of it, has to do with externships, being offered an externship. And, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think sometimes, especially in the spring semester, we see students that are just dropping because they want to take a lighter load, and that's unfortunate. We can't really control that. So. Right. No official. Correct.
Do we have time to introduce ourselves out here? Because I don't think that I'll do my thing and then we'll go there. So what I'm going to talk about is faculty efforts. So all of this is great and necessary for our students to go and do their clinical rotation. But what I do is part of tracking your productivity. So the reason that we need to track the productivity is for promotion and for compensation. So I'm not good with this little button. Okay. So OME and the Office of Student Affairs tracks where every M4 student goes. We do this to make sure which electives are up and running, how many students are in there, and we always need to know exactly where our students are. So whenever we put it in OASIS, it's a quick glance on where all of our students are. So you don't have to track the students to get compensated, to get productivity, anything like that. We do that for you. And so what faculty effort is, it's how we keep track of the contact hours. This also moves you from contributed services to health science affiliate faculty, which for us is full faculty. So there is a big difference, and especially with the bylaws in the new faculty handbook, the contributed services designation is going to carry a different kind of weight. So if you are offering a course and you are contributed services, we need to make sure that you're moved to health science associate faculty. I already said that. Okay, so when the semester ends, we send Amber and Reagan pull a report. And what that will do is it will tell us all the active M4 courses. And it'll give us the course director, and then it will say how many students were assigned to that elective for the semester. We send that to finance, and then the provost's office. Finance is for the money, obviously, and then provost's office is for tracking productivity for the university. So fall is May through December, and I know May seems a little wacky to be fall, but our academic year used to start in July, so it was July to December. Now our academic year starts in May, so that it's May to December. So those hours are always going to be bigger. And then since we have capstone in April, spring normally is, unless you're heavily involved in capstone, spring is normally just January through March. Oops, there we go. But it does say April. Productivity. The reason we do this is because Creighton can't pay physicians directly. Something with Medicaid, Medicare, paying double for clinical duties. So the money is routed to the employer. Each employer handles that differently. Some do a pass through, some give administrative time. Sometimes it's built into the contract of the physician. So we don't control any of that. But this is the way Creighton does control it. There we go. I got ahead of myself. Oh, yeah. So, okay, there are 3 different types that we compensate. The affiliate hospitals, the medical groups, so DMG, Dignity Health Medical Group, private practice, that group, and that goes to the office manager, and then they disperse it, or an LLC. Yeah, thank you. So the way that's calculated, we calculate the hourly rate for the M4 electives by the 50th percentile of the AAMC benchmarks. That is divided by 2,080, which is a 1.0 FTE for Creighton. Then that is multiplied times the credit hours. So at Creighton, we only offer either 2-week courses or 4-week courses. So it would be their AAMC annual benchmark divided by 2,080. That gives us the hourly rate times probably 4. And then multiplied by the number of students in the semester. So you understand that that tracking that we do is very valuable at the end of the semester. So that is how the compensation flows.